Yahoo! Yahoo! Whoops. Hey, welcome to the Nintendo Stuff Podcast. I know that intro said the breakdown, but I wanted to play it anyway for you. So that's what you get. Welcome to the Nintendo Stuff Podcast, broadcasted live on July 20th, 2018. This is episode 3 again. As you may have heard, episode 3 didn't quite work out for us, so we decided it was more work than it was worth, and here we are. So
Week 3, part 2.
we got a lot to talk about today. Of course, we have the Super Smash Brothers blog, some more Smash news on top of that. We heard tell of a game starring Tingle that was also a horror game that got canceled, and Metroid movies. So lots of neat Nintendo news to talk about this week. These are my lovely co-hosts, Logan Welliver, Paul Anderson.
Yeah.
Welcome to Nintendo Stuff Podcast. First on the docket is Super Smash Brothers blog. We'll be talking about all the updates from last week. Who was our first one? We started
Depends
with
on
Pichu.
if we want to go back and cover the ones that we got
finished off
lost.
with Pit last week. So in the last episode, we finished off with Pit.
Let's run through them for like just real quickly for everybody who missed it.
I mean, it was Mega Man, it was Pit,
It was Kirby.
and then was it Kirby?
It started with Kirby. It was Kirby, then it was Mega Man, Pit. If I could find
Mega
the
Man
back.
4
Alolan
medley.
Raichu and Mega Man 4 medley from last week.
Right.
So the only
We're
two
up to
pieces
speed.
of things that were new are the Alolan Raichu Pokemon and the Mega Man 4 medley. I mentioned last week in the Lost episode that the Mega Man 4 medley is probably my favorite addition to the soundtrack so far on the My Music page. It's the most interesting to listen to. Wow, don't die,
dying.
Paul. We only have one of you. We have one.
I survived this episode the first time, and then I died the second time around.
Dream Drop says Brandon's looking a lot brighter, and Logan somehow looks less blue. I like the new lighting, guys. Well, all I did was put a light over there because I got tired of looking at my dark self. I think your blue light from your screen was kind of casting on you.
I mean, that might be true. So, like, when I do one of these, when I do, like, an alt-tab kind of deal, right? And it's like, oh, no, the color temperature changes pretty quickly. And then when it gets darker at night, it's even more pronounced. So, the fact that we do this at 7:30 and then we go into 8:30, you know, it's pretty dark.
So starting with the first update, July 15th of last week, it's Pichu. Pichu is back after 17 years. Pichu's electric attacks have greater range and do more damage than its other attack types, but they also damage Pichu. So when Pichu was announced to come back, this was kind of the first thing I was wondering. Is Pichu still going to cause damage to itself? And it looks like he still does, so there you go.
The nifty thing, though, is that he does, like, fractions of percent instead of now, like, well, previously where he just did, like, a whole percent of damage.
Yeah. I I'm going to guess that's probably not the reason why we have fractions of percents now, but it is certainly a benefit to it.
It helps, yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that the fraction percent thing is specifically for the 1v1 damage ratio, which exists now.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
But nonetheless, it's nice to have Pichu here. Yeah, there's not much else to say about Pichu. It looks like his moveset is pretty much exactly how it was left 17 years ago. He's not exactly an Echo Fighter, not exactly a clone, but still a clone.
Uh-oh.
You know, every time I play as Pikachu, I think, man, this character needs to be lighter.
There you go. So going forward, July 16th, today's stage, Moray Towers. This is a stage from the Splatoon and Splatoon 2 games. Look closely for Judd and Lil Judd. Judd will raise the flag with the color of the fighter or team currently in the lead. I think that's a pretty neat touch.
Yeah. I just love the visuals in this. Like, so forget about the actual stage and look at like all of the background. The city, you see like the trucks and the road and the billboard. Oh, the fact that like, I don't know, that they're able to kind of sell this, kind of take it out of its context and kind of like, I don't know, it emphasizes it more.
What I hope that he does is like during actual Splatfests, they get the, you know, Squid Sisters up, singing their songs, get the lights going, just that little touch in the background.
We know that there's a Splatfest version of this stage. I don't think it's clear whether or not that will be the case during Splatfests in the real world, or if it's just going to be like a random chance that you'll get the Splatfest version of the stage when you pick it.
Every Saturday night between 7 and 9 p.m.
KK Slider shows up and he sings his songs. Personally, I would have not chosen Moray Towers as the Splatoon 2 representative stage. No. I would have gone with like Urchin Underpass or Black Belly Skate Park or Walleye Warehouse.
Or Salt Spray Rig.
Rip Salt Spray Rig. Day Lopez, is this supposed to be a family-friendly channel? Emphasis on the supposed to, but yes. Yeah, I like the stage layout. It's pretty unique, not something we've really seen before. We have layer upon layer of platforms that extend from each side of the stage, going all the way up to the top. I think the tournament people have already decided that they will not be playing on this stage as a legal stage. Yeah.
It would have been nice to have like a Splatoon 2 stage that was tournament legal, but, you know, that's asking a lot.
I mean, well, Dream Drop makes a point. You know, we got the Battlefield and Omega forms, which are less exciting, but still.
Right.
He says hopefully
the visuals with it.
Right, and he says hopefully Judd appears on those versions as well. I'd actually be surprised if he didn't, because that's a pretty neat touch. Moving on to the next day, July 17th. Today's music. You can now listen to Snake Eater. The original version was the opening theme song for Metal Gear Solid 3, the only game in that series I've played from start to finish. This time in its arrangement by Nobuko Toda. And you know how last week how I said that Mega Man song was my favorite addition to the channel, or to the My Music page? Well, it's been quickly replaced. Apparently us being family friendly wasn't good enough for Day Lopez, so he decided to leave. Well, good day to you, sir.
I respect that you've stuck to your guns, sir.
Yeah, we're only for babies. This is a baby channel. Nintendo's for children. Only children watch our show. Yes, Snake Eater. What a thrill.
Only kids can see why you love
okay, we may be kid friendly, but there are sometimes I wish I could cuss on this show. But
Snake Eater, I think, might be my favorite Metal Gear Solid theme ever. I do like Encounter, the song that plays when you're spotted by an enemy. But Snake Eater is such a good track. I don't know if either of you listened to this yet.
No, I haven't. Honestly, I will confess, I haven't been paying that much close attention to Nintendo this last week.
It's okay. That's why you're here, to learn.
I know. It's on and off, right?
Yeah. See, the reason why I haven't is because it wasn't from Sonic. Sonic's the music I'm really looking for this blog because Sonic is just it's got like the best music.
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree with that. I want more songs in the Smash games that actually have lyrics. So far, like, Sonic and Snake Eater were the only ones that did that. Yo, just got here. Nintendo is for children. Twintel's Booty and Camilla from Fire Emblem say hi. You must have come before we had a person come in and ask if we were a family-friendly show, and I reinforced that our show is for babies. Anyway, moving on. Today's stage, July 17th, Wily Castle. Hazards from the previous games for both Nintendo 3DS and Wii U will appear on this stage. The Yellow Devil will cause a big explosion when it's defeated, but the player who landed the final attack doesn't take any damage. Use this to your advantage. So what they're talking about here is the 3DS version had moving platforms that were like attached to rails, and the Wii U version had just the Yellow Devil, from what I understand. So they're kind of mix-mashing that all together into one big stage.
This is one case where I gotta say I am ecstatic that there aren't you can turn off stage hazards.
Yes, I hate the Yellow Devil. I hate playing on the stage because of it. Yeah, it is kind of terrible.
It's the only reason I don't like the stage.
Other than that, it's like the neutralist stage next to Final Destination.
Yeah, I definitely don't have as strong of feelings towards this stage as you guys did. But I also didn't play as much Smash Wii U. So...
Yeah. So yeah, I'll probably be playing... Well, the thing is, like, the hazard toggle, I'll be playing on probably all of the stages now that is an option.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, my go-to for stage selection is Omega Random. So now I'll probably do Battlefield Random, and then just... Yeah, stage hazard list random, if that's a quick option. I hope all of these are like quick options. You can just press like X or Y and then it'll do something different.
Yeah, or at the very least, like if there was a hazard toggle checklist for the stages where you could just turn them off on a list so that they're always off. But the button press is going to be the quickest option.
Fun fact, when you do stage hazard list poke floats, you don't have a stage.
You just fall. I've actually always wanted a stage where you just fly. There's that one Pokemon Stadium 2 stage from Brawl, and one of the transitions has these windmills that blow wind up in the air, and it's strong enough to keep you up in the sky. So I kind of want that as a Smash stage, where the only way to kill enemies realistically is like with spikes, because I don't know if most aerials would be strong enough to really kill off the sides. I don't know. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun, July 18th, today's fighter, Bowser Jr. The Junior Clown car this little fellow rides in takes less damage when attacked than Bowser Jr. himself. So try to stay in the car when taking damage. The different color variations are the Koopalings. Yeah, it's Bowser Jr. He's still Bowser Jr. Congratulations.
His bib looks nice, but that's all I got.
If you compare the models, his bib, like the texture, is exactly the same as from Smash 4. No, I'm raining all over your parade right now. No,
it's much nice. He looks so much nicer, Brandon.
There's about 10 more pixels of resolution in there. You just have bad eyesight. Moose Man, what's Omega Poke Floats though? You just fight on Onyx or Lickitungue's tongue.
Lickitungue's tongue.
You play on you play on nothing. Still,
nothing at all. Yeah, you know, Bowser Jr. was like one of the late additions to Smash 4, but I kind of like him for the fact that he kind of encompasses Mario bosses as a single character by being all the Koopalings and Bowser Jr.
I mean, let's be honest, Roy's my boy, you know?
Yeah, Roy is also my favorite Koopaling. Logan, what's your favorite Koopaling?
Honestly,
he's an Iggy, man.
Ludwig Van Koopa.
Guys, stop. This is getting weird, okay, man?
I knew it was Wendy Koopa. You can't hide from me. July 19th, today's item, Pokemon, Beware. Beware's more ferocious than it looks, with slow movement speed offset by very powerful attacks. He actually attacks you with an uppercut, which is a 2-hit process, and it pretty much just kills you from what I've seen. I'm
the box ghost. Beware!
Well, in that case, with the second photo, Samus is in the process of dying.
Yes. I like Beware. For those of you who've watched the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime, he is a character on Team Rocket's team. He's not. I don't even think he's part of the team. He just kind of shows up whenever Team Rocket's about to lose. Beware shows up, grabs them, and in some ridiculous way ends up flying away from the area they were in, and that's how Team Rocket blasts off.
I like that.
Yeah, creative. And
I'm the box ghost. Beware!
He'll just show up, pick them up, and run away. Sometimes they'll, like, I don't know, he'll, like, jump really high. It's just ridiculous stuff. And I love Beware's design. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
It's just got a pink head, darker body, and it almost looks like it's wearing bunny ears on its head.
Yeah.
It's just, it's dopey, and I love it. I could definitely see plushes of Beware being very popular. Dreamdrop says, can we get an Omega stage where we fight on top of Brandon's glasses? Thanks, Sakurai. Yeah. Actually, Sakurai emailed me about 3.5 weeks ago, and he said, Brandon, I want to make a stage where we fight on your glasses. It is the best stage I have ever created.
All the different perspectives.
Stop. I call BS.
Okay, you're right. It was Bill Trennan who emailed me.
They would have made you sign an NDA.
Welcome back, Zay Lopez. Actually, the Omega Pokefloats is the Pokemon Avalugg. Look up a picture. He's literally Final Destination. I'm gonna look that up right now.
I was gonna make a joke about them just making a Pokemon that's a box, or just a cube.
Oh no, he's right. Avalugg is just Final Destination.
Looking this up. Wow.
So that's all of the Smash blog updates for this week, but that's not the end of the Smash news.
Yep.
Next up on the list is a rumor. Take it with a grain of salt. IMDb lists Rhythm Heaven's The Chorus Kids for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This was an early leak for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS. The Gamatsu leak, the Gamatsu leak, which was very popular for how accurate it was for a while. But it also featured characters on it like Chrom and the Chorus Kids, which obviously did not end up in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U or 3DS.
I was just happy to see this rumor come full circle. It was in the last game, now it's here for this game too. They're
just going to be rumored for every game until they're actually a character.
Or until they never are.
Here's the thing. Like, do you guys, how much experience do you guys have with the Rhythm Heaven series?
None.
Nope.
I would say Rhythm Heaven is like the first party hidden gem of Nintendo right now. These games are incredible. They come from the same...
Is Rhythm Heaven first party?
Yeah. That's the only reason that they would even be considered for Super Smash Brothers as a rumor.
I honestly wouldn't knock this idea. I know, like, from experience that Sakurai can take the weirdest concept and make it work, and I wouldn't be surprised, like, the day that they're actually added into Smash Brothers, they'll make sense.
Well, the thing I'm thinking is, Rhythm Heaven obviously is a rhythm game, and the mini games are all centered around pressing the A button or B button or both at specific times to complete different types of tasks. So what I'm thinking is that their moveset could be rhythm based. Like, you start an attack and the rhythm starts playing out and you have to release on beat. Or like even their triple jab or like their normal jab could be rhythm based. You get the most damage if you hit all the notes perfectly. So I think there's a lot of potential.
I'd be really into that, because you'd find people that, like, most people would be like garbage with them, but you find like 1 or 2 people that really know how to play them, and it'd just be amazing.
Logan, you're giving a quizzitive look. What do you got?
I don't know. I might keep quiet on this one, because I mean, it's all speculation, right? But I don't think.
He was reading the comment section.
I get the whole appeal oh, we get the chorus kids in here, rhythm-based gameplay. I don't think it would work.
Sakurai's proven harder things than that.
Timing is too important in Smash Bros. Already, and it can't just be dependent on a rhythm, you know.
Well, it wouldn't be exclusive, like the concept Brandon was mentioning.
Right, but like to use it most effectively, to like have that be dependent on like, or like whatever song is in the background or whatever.
There are absolutely people that would master that.
I feel like the beats would only initiate like when you initiate an attack, and then you have to follow through on it. Like you look at a move like Marth's side B, which is a combo. It is rhythm based. You have to hit it at the right time. Like any attack that has a timing to it is already rhythm based. And Sakurai describes the speed of the game with the word tempo. So,
well, yeah, I mean the game has a rhythm, you know. Like every character has its own rhythm. But like to make it like, you know what? I'm going to let it go. Because Chorus Kids.
You just remembered we fit.
They're not going to be an Ultimate. They're just not. It's not. It's another like. At some point, one Nintendo employee was like, "I really like the Rhythm Heaven games, and I hope they put Chorus Kids in Super Smash Bros. That'd be really cool." And then Sakurai was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a great idea." And he closes the door and then talks behind his back.
You got to slow down. You're going to reveal the fact that you're actually an alien if you let this go any further.
I am an alien. You know what, guys? I'm out. See you guys later.
Oh no, there you go.
Coming back.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Day Lopez says, how would you feel about a Sony rep like Jack and Daxter, Sly Cooper, Crash Bandicoot, or Spyro? If we were to...
I'd actually be okay with Crash or Spyro. I feel like they've had their gaming history.
Yeah.
And so if they're represented, I'm okay with that. I'm not going out of my way to like beg for it, but...
Yeah, I'm like, I don't super want either of those characters, but I would not be opposed to having either Crash or Spyro. I don't necessarily think Jack and Daxter and Sly Cooper have a higher chance than Crash and Spyro. Specifically now that Crash and Spyro aren't even technically Sony properties at this point.
Did you not hear that Spyro is coming to Super Smash Bros?
That's later on the list. Quit spoiling.
I heard it on the internet. I heard it on the internet. It's real. I swear.
It's not real. Logan's lying.
Dream Drop says, I mean, Kid Icarus was stupidly irrelevant at the time of Brawl, but Sakurai said screw it and had people redesign Pit and Palutena entirely, with a reboot to come like 4 years later. Nothing is ever out of the realm of possibility for Sakurai, because Sakurai is a visionary. Without him, we wouldn't have a game like Smash in the first place. But enough about that. Bill Trinan on potential Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC. So the main thing here for this story is that Bill said, hey, Sakurai is going to do what he wants. First of all, he wants to finish the game, and then he'll think about that later.
This is like standard Nintendo like corporate response.
Yes.
If Sakurai feels like it, DLC's not out of the question.
Yeah,
but we have no comment at this time.
Yeah, it seems like Nintendo has learned that, okay, for some games that it makes sense to plan for it, you know, because they're like, this just makes sense. But again, for a game so big, you know, even adding a single character, that's a lot of work right there, you know. So
Sakurai's committed to making this game ultimate before he makes it more than ultimate.
Yeah. Also, I like how Nintendo, for the most part, doesn't announce DLC before the launch.
Focus on the game first, then add to it.
And obviously there are a few exceptions, but I think some of those exceptions make sense. Mm-hmm. For example, when Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was, you know, about to launch, they had already announced the DLC, hadn't they?
Yeah. The same with the Breath of the Wild, actually. Yeah.
But I think that's okay because, one, those games are already so large.
They were both also done.
Right. And then for, like, specifically, like, a JRPG, like, you know, if you're going to get into that game and you're going to play that much, you might as well get a little bit more out of it with some DLC, you know? know.
Mm-hmm.
It's an easy sell. Probably a pretty high attach rate.
Kind of comment on Day Lopez. He says, how would you feel about DLC costumes like Twilight Princess costumes for Link, Zelda, and Ganon, for example, since there's no Twilight Princess characters in Ultimate? I think if they bundled costumes in with like bigger DLC, like they kind of, well, they did that with Smash 4, I'd be okay with that. I'd be into that. I mean, we talked extensively about costumes before the game was revealed.
Yeah, I'm still holding out hope that they will have a Skyward Sword Zelda. That's like my favorite Zelda design, and the fact that they didn't go with that still offends me.
I think they
I'm offended.
I could see it being a swap, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a few of the colors, specifically like the obviously it's a Link Between Worlds. So what's the other side called in A Link Between Worlds?
Low roll?
Yeah, low roll.
Are you talking like a Hilda swap?
Right. They have the Hilda swap, but in terms of just full design changes, I mean, it remains to be seen. But that's something I would love to see. I would love to see if, like, you know, if I could play as different iterations of Zelda. You know.
Sakurai had comments on keeping things a secret for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, definitely targeting leakers. Let's see if I can find his exact quote, because it's not highlighted here. But the main thing is that Sakurai was worried about Smash being leaked before it was announced. So what they did is they didn't set up any of the E3 displays.
I think I found it.
And they just kept the... Yeah, if you could read that.
Truth be told, I'm really glad there weren't any leaks. Had any information gotten out, say if everybody knew about Everyone Is Here, I feel like the reaction wouldn't have been as intense as it had been. And I think he's absolutely right on that one. Like,
yeah, the
fact that they managed to keep that secret is so phenomenal. Like, it really upped that whole announcement.
Yeah, I mean, Smash 4 historically got super leaked. It was an ESRB employee, if I remember right. I remember Shulk and Dr. Mario and Bowser Jr. and a couple of their characters got leaked, and at first everybody was like, oh, this is fake, and they were analyzing the UI and said, you know, like, well, this space between the two character slots, obviously this means this is fake, and none of it was fake. It was all true. People just have a hard time accepting things, I guess. And I remember, like, right after that, a week later, we got a trailer for Shulk in Smash, and the name of the trailer was, well, I guess we don't have any choice. Or something like that. It was like Sakurai was just owning up to the fact that, yep, that's just real, so here you go, I guess. I can't imagine what it's like to be a developer like Sakurai and to work on something that's so treasured like Smash Brothers only for some rando on the internet to get their 10 minutes of fame by leaking it all, like, a week ahead of time.
Yeah,
that's got to feel awful.
Like in this case, like, I'm glad this time around he got to, like, bask in the glory of the reveal. Like, every reaction was just cranked up to max because no one knew going into it, and I'm sure this has to feel good for him.
Yeah, especially after Smash 4, like, he got one. You know, Cloud in Smash 4 and Bayonetta, neither of them got leaked ahead of time, but Roy and Ryu infamously got data mined and were fully playable in the game thanks to hackers before they were even announced as DLC. It was a really sad situation, because if people had seen Ryu in that trailer and said, oh, Ryu's coming back, the internet, or Ryu's coming back, Roy's coming back, and Ryu's in the game, the internet would have lit ablaze.
It's almost the same.
Roy and Ryu. Yeah, just a couple, you know, a letter off and a letter placement off, so. Yeah, it was nice to hear this from Sakurai himself. You know, he hates it.
Where it is. There's one other thing that, like, he talks about in this article that I just thought was interesting. He brings up the idea that, like, by bringing everyone back, he might have opened Pandora's box for the series because he doesn't think that they'll ever be able to fit everyone in another game.
They're the sad thing, there's, like, no going back from this. But there's also no doing this again unless Sakurai wants to kill himself, and I don't think he does.
Hear me out. What if we just never went back? What if we just keep building off of this one and this is just it?
That's my world.
We always have everybody.
I want to mention Mooseman says, looks like we don't have a choice is a Xenoblade reference, but it works that way too. So there you go.
I'm sure it was double meaning in that situation.
Well, you look at Ridley's reveal trailer and it said Ridley hit the big time. Or Ridley hits the big time after all the times that Sakurai said he was too big. So Sakurai's in the know. He knows his memes. And that's about all the Smash news for
getting the
now.
weird stuff. Woo!
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. There was an NES emulator discovered inside GameCube, right? Oh, yeah, so it's the NES emulator that they use in Animal Crossing to emulate the games that you can unlock in Animal Crossing. Well, it turns out you can emulate all of the NES games inside of Animal Crossing using this emulator. So an interesting approach to development. It makes little sense to just, like, develop a proprietary emulator for, like, the 10 or 11 games that are in there and not just do, like, a full NES emulator, so... From a development standpoint, this makes sense.
Well, yeah, and then on top of that, I wonder how much that played into, you know, something like the NES Classic, you know, down the line. So they have this proprietary emulator that they had to build at some point, you know, for the NES Classic. So
one thing that like I'm really impressed about
console
is that this is something that like I'm guessing was like recently discovered.
Given that it was just brought
this
up
long to figure out that this was even a thing.
Yeah, this was discussed in a blog post by James Chambers, a security researcher, earlier this week, who made the discovery. So this is a very recent discovery for Animal Crossing on GameCube. So yeah, neat stuff. Nintendo development history is always interesting to look back on. The first Nintendo Labo contest winners were selected, including a solar-powered accordion and a teapot minigame.
Have you guys seen the teapot minigame?
I have.
It actually looks like a lot of fun.
He had like a coin slot in that one too, right? Or am I thinking of the different one?
Maybe a different one. You have like the lid, and there's the Joy-Con sitting just inside of it, and so you have to lift it up to refill the pot, and then you pick it up and tilt the whole teapot to pour, and you know, customers will come in and they'll light up, and you have to manage these 4 teapots, filling them up, and then filling your customer's cup in order to keep them satisfied.
this is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely some high invention amongst fans for Nintendo Labo. And on top of that, they've actually announced their second contest, so we're already jumping right into the second Labo contest. So if you're interested in doing that, go to nintendolabo.com or labo.nintendo.com, I can't remember, and get involved with that if you want to see your stuff get appraised by Nintendo themselves.
Maybe win a one of those nifty limited edition Labo Switches.
Yeah, and those look really nice. The full Nintendo Labo paint design on the Switch itself and the Joy-Cons. I think the dock too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all cardboard.
Moving on, this is an interesting note. The Daemon Ex Machina producer believes a lot of modern games look the same. And he's right.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, and it's not that we don't enjoy some of those games, you know. A lot of AAA titles look just very photorealistic, and they don't have a lot of personality to their design. They're just kind of trying to mimic, you know, whatever seems like how it should look, right? So no, I mean, that was one of the things that popped out when they showed off this game at first was, oh, this looks not like anything else. I mean, it might take from like some cell shaded stuff, but it's inspired, it's not derivative so much, you know.
I do think like now compared to like maybe five years ago, like we do have a lot more variety in art styles just from the growing
indie scene.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I do have to agree with him. Like he does make a solid point.
Speaking of derivative, I do think his art style for this game is a little reminiscent of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Specifically after certain events take place in a couple of the movies. It is very reminiscent of what the world looks like, and I like that because I love Evangelion. So
Right. Same.
I would not sleep on this game if you're a Switch owner and you're looking for something big to play. This looks like it's going to be something.
Yeah.
Well, it also
I'd like to see more.
It's also got a very impressive list of names behind it too, which is something that like should have been highlighted a little bit better.
This is being seen as a spiritual successor to Armored Core, I'm hearing from people. So if you like Armored Core, here you are. And I think this will also have co-op, which that's the light in my head that makes me look over at the game. So,
oh hey, co-op! I can play with my friends.
Yeah.
Hi ho there, eh?
Speaking of games you can play with your friends, Super Mario Party has been confirmed to be developed by everybody's favorite developer, ND Cube. Great. That's real good.
Well, I mean, okay, I'll be honest, right? I don't hold ND Cube necessarily responsible for some of the awful decisions that Mario Party has made in the last few years. And if Super Mario Party is what they're capable of after a lot of deliberation and seeing how they can change up the formula while also maintaining what makes Mario Party and why it brings us in, you know, from what I know, a lot of the staff that was working on Mario Party before ND Cube took over moved over to ND Cube.
That's what I was going to say. Hudson Soft.
Right. So even like it started with 9. Yeah.
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 Yeah. 9, almost like all the same staff as 8. It's all the same. So the fact that it went to ND Cube literally didn't matter because it was like all the same people. So I don't know what went wrong, you know.
Well, it's this misdirection that went wrong.
Right, but why? And it's not because it changed developers, you know.
Yeah, I think in this case, like the thing that saved it is that those people took a step back and remembered, oh hey, people like the N64 installments. They didn't like so much of what came after. Let's try and touch back into that.
I think the thing with Mario Party 10 specifically is I imagine that game was probably well underway before they even got like a genuine reaction to Mario Party 9. So there wasn't enough time to gauge what people were thinking. And you know, if you look at the 3DS game, Star Rush, they tried a brand new formula, like that wasn't from 9 or 10, and actually that formula is being carried over into Mario Party or Super Mario Party. One of the boards they showed uses the exact same board system that was in that game, which is grid based.
No, I liked that, but what I don't like it is if it's in place of, you know, the things that make Mario Party, right? Yeah,
like I wouldn't be upset if we had the car if the car was tied to its own board.
Right, and it's not the main event.
Yeah, we cater
but, I mean,
everybody.
that doesn't seem to be the case. Seems like we're returning to form largely, which is exciting.
That's how they're advertising it too, which is important.
With a few extra balances here and there with the dice system.
Here's the thing about the dice system. I was watching.
It's one of the new stuff, right?
Well, it's not actually. I was watching PB and Jeff, and they were playing Star Rush, and the dice block system is entirely lifted from that game.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, it's from one of the new games. And so, it's not that they had bad ideas. I mean, even looking back at 9 had a fantastic collection of minigames. Right?
Yeah, it did.
The minigames in that game, like, were, on average, better than most of the Mario Party games, I would say.
The minigames in that game were, as a sum, better than Mario Party 8 was as a whole.
Right.
I mean, you can easily have a Mario Tennis situation where you make a really good game and a really bad package around the good gameplay.
Right. So the fact that they've been experimenting with the last too many entries in the Mario Party series, and them, you know, obviously revisiting some of the core elements of the series, seems like they've found their way forward. They struggled a little bit, but now we got a few extra bells and whistles on this train ride.
We're definitely on the right path to a good game. And I'm actually very excited for Mario Party, which is not something I could say I have ever been, well, at least not for a long time.
Right.
So moving on from that, let's see. Nintendo's Virtual Boy gets a revival thanks to emulator for Oculus Rift VR headset.
That's amazing. This is so good. So, one thing that I've been much more aware of in the last few months, and this is thanks to Norman of the Gaming Historian, because in all of his videos, and he talks about this all the time, is you know, just like maintaining the things that existed in the past and being able to archive them and save those things from extinction, because there have been cases where there'd be a rare game and it was lost to time. You know, the cartridges that were on they're all scattered about. There's very few of them, and nobody's uploaded the ROMs to the internet and all this other stuff. And so having a way to play Virtual Boy games in this manner, I mean, it just kind of preserves that experience a little bit more. Even
Someone
though
made a point this week, I forgot where, but I think it was Game Explained, mentioned that like Virtual Boy was represented in the new WarioWare game, and he asked the question, why didn't they port Virtual Boy games to the 3DS?
They definitely could have.
An opportunity.
Of all the games on Virtual Boy, there is a full-fledged Wario Land game on Virtual Boy that we'll never have the pleasure of playing.
They would have to change the colors, though. They have to add colors.
They got the technology.
But yeah, so it's experiences like this that's like, okay, like we have, in a way, you know, an even better way of experiencing that history if you don't have access to a Virtual Boy, you know? And it's obviously it's not one-to-one, and I can't imagine that if you played it too long that it wouldn't give you a headache, because from my experience, Virtual Boy always gave me a headache. So,
well, maybe emulating it will alleviate that, or you could work towards alleviating that.
Or it'll give you that experience that you couldn't get by just emulating it on a screen.
What we need to do is emulate Virtual Boy by having a real Virtual Boy in your virtual reality, and you actually have to get up to it, kneel down, and like look through the tiny holes inside the game.
Not gonna lie, that would actually kind of be amazing.
It would really give you the experience.
If Virtual Boy isn't Nintendo's branding for when they get into VR, I give up.
Virtual Boy 2.
Right. Something like that.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Right in the face.
Sorry about that. Here's an interesting one. Director Jordan Vogt Roberts shares pitch for a Metroid movie.
You guys hear about his pitch?
Yes, and I'll read it off to you right now. They'll never let me. It's too crazy. Legitimately would be her, Samus, alone. It would be a little bit of her talking to herself. As soon as they introduce other talking characters in those games, to me, it loses everything. You put her alone, and it's almost got a little bit more to do with the silence of a movie like Drive, like the quietness, and having it be like a real, intense mood piece, but mixed with sci-fi.
Yes, please.
Sounds like he's nailed the direction for a Metroid movie. That's it.
That's like how every Metroid game is. Like almost every Metroid game. And like, I mean, obviously there's a little bit of story in like, with people in like Metroid Prime 3, and what do you call it? But like those games are largely like you're alone, and if there's anybody else around, it's something that wants to kill you. You know?
Yeah.
I think you could very effectively tell a Metroid story without like very minimal characters, very minimal interactions.
Yeah. Metroid.
This guy obviously gets the point of Metroid. He definitely knows what he's doing, and I hope that eventually someone at Nintendo listens to him.
I mean, we're getting a Mario movie. Nintendo's going to gauge how these things do, and they're going to put these movies in the right hands. So I actually am of the opinion that we are going to get a Metroid movie in the next 10 or 15 years. It's going to happen.
I hope so.
Along with The Legend of Zelda. So, look forward to that stuff, because Nintendo's opening their doors wide to this entire medium.
Yeah, they're going to make a lot of money in the next few decades with movies.
I am so excited to finally get like a teaser for the Super Mario Brothers movie. Hopefully it leaves me with the same feeling I have right now and not with a different one. Speaking of movies, we get the Detective Pikachu movie in May of next year, so we'll start getting a glimpse of what these might be like. That's not a Nintendo movie exactly, but it's a step in that direction. Let's see. Officially licensed portable power banks for Switch are available now. So if you want those, maybe get one.
If you were worried about like portable power banks breaking your console, which I don't think that was a concern. It was when you use like third-party docks, and I think it was more like using other adapters, power adapters that would. But
yeah. So this will be a safe method.
Yeah, this is cool. I mean, I like officially licensed products because it kind of sets a standard, and so if anybody can beat that, like heck yeah.
Knowing how easy it is to brick consoles if you don't know what you're doing with your hardware, like I'm glad there's an officially licensed one.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I don't think it's for me though, because I play mostly docked. There's not generally a time like. If there's a time that I could be playing handheld, I'm usually doing something else. You know what I mean? So when I make time and I think about, okay, I want to play some Switch, it's usually in front of the TV.
Dream Drop says, isn't the movie Mario movie being directed by Illumination? That means we'll see a minion in the beginning of a Mario movie. We're on the worst timeline. We said the same thing about Rabbids, so I'm not willing to make a claim yet.
Well, yeah, I would say if Nintendo allows it, right? You'll still see Illumination, but to see a minion necessarily show up,
minions will be in the movie. They will just be played by the Goombas instead. I could see them taking on that persona.
I'm okay with that one. If they're being like really in your face about being Illumination, and like just having like minion references everywhere, that's a problem. But I don't think that they would do that.
Illumination,
that's kind of tacky.
Illumination is also handling the Grinch movie that's coming out this Christmas, and so far I actually think that might be an okay film. Nothing about it has been offensive to me.
Okay, here's the thing. So when I think Illumination, I think of the animation, right? And so when I see the Grinch, I see all these other movies, I think, wow, this is great animation, right?
They got chops.
Whether the movie is good or not, you know, and I do enjoy some of those Illumination films. And so it's going to be different between, okay, the studio that is animating it and whoever they get on to direct it, right?
Right.
And then with Miyamoto having his hands in the pot.
He's a producer, I think, right?
Right. Nothing's going to get past him. If it doesn't fit, it's not going to be there. You
hear these great Miyamoto stories of Miyamoto showing up to a development studio to kind of check up on a game. He'll like look at it for like 5 minutes and say something like, I don't like looking at the wolf's butt, and then he'll walk away. And now Midna rides on the back of Wolf Link in Twilight Princess. So
is that what happened?
Yep. That's what happened.
He does crap like that all the time, and it's kind of spectacular, like just how many like real game changers come out of just him showing up and like, you should fix this.
Let's invite Miyamoto on the show.
So it's that for that reason that I agree with you, Logan. I don't think Miyamoto's going to let anything get past him. Like if he doesn't believe in it, it's not going to happen.
I think he'll let people have their creative freedom.
Sure.
It seems like he's loosening up to a certain degree, but at the same time, like if he puts his foot down, like it's not happening.
I always praise them, but if you're worried about this movie, go watch the Pikmin shorts that were released back in the Wii U era.
They're really good.
They are fantastic. So that's what you can look forward to. Moving on. Really quick, Mooseman says, I play handheld mode 90% of the time, since I'm usually on the go a lot. Thank you, Nintendo, for allowing me to play Octopath anywhere. Yeah, that's the great thing about Switch. So now you have an official power bank you can get so you can play more. Nintendo Switch may need a hardware revision sooner rather than later, and this is in reference to the cracked switches that are showing up.
That and the bending, like the warping that some switches have been experiencing. So it's more or less like a recommendation that Nintendo should change the plastics that they're using to some that can hold up to the heat a lot better without like warping or cracking. Because apparently it can get quite pricey if you want, like, if you send it in to get fixed.
I don't feel like that should be on the end of the consumer.
$238.
That shouldn't be on the end of the consumer, given how widespread of an issue it seems to be. I observed my wife's Switch either yesterday or the day before, and hers is cracked. Yet, I'm pretty sure hers is cracked because she dropped it.
Yeah, I actually have a chip. I got mine chipped, like, and I don't remember doing anything or abusing it or anything. It just kind of fell out. And I was like, what the heck? And I super glued it back on. So if you look on the back of my Switch, it's a little janky, but it's not too noticeable. That's really the only issue I've had with my Switch. I feel kind of lucky. I do notice that my left Joy-Con thumbstick kind of sticks. But that's obviously not related to the heat issue.
I want to say I've got a little bit of a bend going on, but not like nothing like I've seen on the internet. So, I would
hopefully this is something that they do take into consideration and start making slightly sturdier Nintendo Switches.
So I would anticipate we'll start seeing, or we might hear of a Switch revision sometime next year. If not like 2020 or like early 2020 at the latest for a Switch revision. This is something I'm really looking forward to because the new Nintendo 3DS was one of like the best hardware upgrades I've ever had in the same like system era. That was a fantastic purchase for someone who was a legacy 3DS owner. So if we get like a super powered Switch with a higher clock speed and maybe a little bit more on the GPU, higher resolution output, like I would be
maybe
all over that.
Maybe a little accessory, drop it into VR.
At that point, you might as well just drop the Switch 2.0.
Sell a model that is just the Switch without Joy-Cons and a dock, because I already have all that stuff.
Super Nintendo Switch.
Would buy.
2020, everybody.
Let's see. Dreamdrop says, I imagine they'll make a completely revised version soon enough. The cracking, warping, and the unpatchable hacking exploits are all reasons for them to re-release the Switch. The hacking exploit has already been addressed. The currently manufactured Switches have been manufactured with that fixed.
The good news is that down the road, the current Switches that we all have are going to be worth something because they're hackable.
And we'll be forced to buy new ones like everybody else because our Switches are all going to crack and warp.
True.
So all the hackable Switches are going to be worthless anyway.
They did this on purpose.
They did this on purpose. They knew.
It was
free upgrade to the revision if you have a crack. I'll get a little chisel hammer.
You got us, Nintendo, and we bit.
Something a little bit related to the next story that I'll mention before we get to that is the title of the 2019 Pokemon the movie film has been announced as Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution. So for those who've been watching the current Pokemon movies, they have established a brand new canon, a new timeline that is for the movies only, starting with Pokemon I Choose You, which was a retelling of Ash's meeting with Pikachu, and then which eventually develops into a new story. There's another movie coming out this year called Everyone's Story, which takes place like as the Johto film in this new timeline, because Lugia is the centerpiece of the movie. With a brand new cast of characters following the same Ash and Pikachu we meet in I Choose You. So I am pretty sure that that's going to be the equivalent with Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, as we're going to get that movie again with a new story, new setting, with the new Ash and Pikachu combo. So just thought I'd throw that out. That being said, in the spirit of making things feel like they were before, Pokemon 2019 will have the same kind of feeling as the previous games on handheld systems. They are trying to hammer in the fact that Pokemon 2019 is going to be the Pokemon all you fans have been yelling about since they revealed Let's Go.
There was a second part of this, and I think I grabbed the wrong story, but like the second quote in this article is, there have been times where you couldn't bring Pokemon over from previous titles. I can word. I imagine that created some bad memories. I want to try and change that if I can. And I want to say that was actually in reference to Pokemon Let's Go.
That's what the internet seems to think. And I think that would be cool. That would further cement the fact that Let's Go is the next mainline Pokemon game. There's many people who were trying to refute that. Because if you can transfer Pokemon from Let's Go into the main series, suddenly Pokemon Go has infected all of Pokemon, and you can't escape it. You might as well accept it now.
I mean, regardless of which one it's about, I am glad that, like, I do have memories from, like, GBA Pokemon games when I finally made it to, like, DS era, where, you know, all these Pokemon were just lost. All these Pokemon that I put time and effort into, just gone.
They're, like, stuck in a time capsule.
It's devastating. It's devastating, and so I'm glad they've acknowledged that that's a bad and are trying to fix it.
This is a bad, and you should feel bad for doing bad.
For batting.
So yeah, I mean, this might be like a blasphemous statement, but I personally am looking forward to Let's Go more than I'm looking forward to 2019 Pokemon. And that might have to do with the fact that we've seen it and we know what it is and it's coming soon. But yeah, it's different. It's a change that I'm willing to give a try. And if I don't like it, you know, I already have the knowledge that Pokemon will be going back to the way it was next year. So it's fine. It's also a remake of my very first Pokemon game, Pokemon Yellow, and that means a lot to me. Jesse and James are in it, man, and they have a Meowth.
I'm hyped. Like, this looks like the more accessible Pokemon, which is something I'm very much okay with.
If they're in the spirit of adding...
a little less grindy, you know, I'm down with that.
If they're in the spirit of adding characters from the anime, if we could get, like, a sneak Ash Ketchum cameo in there somewhere...
He's the champion.
He's sitting up on Mount Silver waiting.
That'd be a nice twist of things, you know?
Moving on, Nintendo and Vanpool canceled a horror game that starred Tingle. Vanpool developed Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land and the other Tingle balloon fight game. Is that right? I want to say they did. So. They were going to create a horror game starring Tingle that ultimately didn't happen, and now I am so curious as to what this was.
When I was reading this, it struck me that Tingle is the Waluigi of the Zelda series.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
And now I'm just as upset that he isn't in Smash as I am that Waluigi isn't in Smash. And I'm also upset that no one's ever pitched a Waluigi horror game.
Paul, you recommended to me to listen to Wizard and the Bruiser, and they go into a little bit of Tingle's backstory and how he came to be. Essentially, Tingle was created because the developers would be, you know, in the room all together, and they'd be debating aspects of the Zelda series as they were developing things. They specifically brought up whether or not Link would be left or right-handed. And they developed Tingle because the idea is that Tingle represents them. They're these old men who are like arguing over like the littlest details of the Zelda series. And Tingle wants to be a fairy, so Tingle is the embodiment of the Zelda development team when they are arguing over Zelda things.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's, oh my goodness gracious.
They, like, low-key said that they're weeaboos and that Tingle is a weeb.
I love that.
It's pretty great. I love it. Yeah,
hopefully this doesn't stay canceled forever.
I think, I don't know if you guys had the same reaction to this, but when I first read this headline, I immediately thought that they were suggesting that Tingle was the horror in the horror game. Like, he was the villain.
That's actually kind of what I was thinking, too, yeah.
He was like the first face I saw when I saw a villain. And I can imagine that being scary. It's almost like, you know, Tingle could be the villain as like this middle-aged man who just wants to be friends with you, but you're like, eh.
Honestly, like,
this is kind of weird.
If he was a jump scare,
why is he asking me to go
scared
bowling?
the crap out of me. Like, you're just walking down a hallway and suddenly Tingle's face just jumps out at you.
I swear to God, if he offers me candy, I'm
If
not
it was on my
taking
3DS, my 3DS would be across the room. No!
Dream Drop says, how horrific, though. Like Luigi's Mansion tier horror, or were they going to have Tingle just dropped into Evil Within? And then he said, Tingle watches Shokugeki no Soma, because Tingle is a weeb, confirmed. So yeah, another weird piece of Nintendo news.
It was a good week for that.
Yeah. Moving on, Nintendo producer wants more people to play Dylan's Dead Heat Breakers. He has interest in making an RPG with Dylan. I think the fact that this game released on the eShop at $40 sealed its fate. Dylan was never that big of an IP to begin with, so to kind of make that leap was kind of risky. And I think, unfortunately, they're seeing the effects of that risk right now.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody should play my game. It's kind of sad.
It
it's
is sad.
Like, oh man, hey, play my game. You guys didn't play my game. More people should play it. It's really good.
The Dylan games are quality. Like, that can't be argued
they're
here.
Nintendo products,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
I'd be.
He's an assist trophy, too. Apparently he was that
like,
important.
okay, even saying that, like, even Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival is polished, you know?
Right.
It's a polished piece of crap, but it's polished. It functions, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that this is happening. I'm going to guess that this might seal the, or signal the end of the future of the Dylan series, unless it makes its way to Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I
think
that would be a
done.
bad idea.
A release of this game on Switch to try to move more units and maybe push it a little bit more.
I mean, at the very least, like, they should consider for their next game, maybe just scale it back. Stick with what you start with. Don't try and, like, go from making this experience to this experience.
Moose Man says he wants Dylan to sell. Simple. Put it on Switch. Smaller indie games thrive on Switch. That being said, this is a first-party game. Yeah, I don't disagree. Like, yeah, put this on Switch, and maybe things will change. Whether or not they're going to have the money or the drive to do that remains to be seen. Hopefully it does, because I don't like to see things like this just kind of fall by the wayside. I had personally never played any of the Dylan games, but that was because that was during a time where I wasn't making my own money. Otherwise, I actually had enough interest to buy those games myself. So that being said, this is something we talked about a lot last week in the episode you guys will probably never hear. Mario Tennis Aces, Bowser Jr. nerfed by Nintendo following complaints. So they updated the game, they nerfed Bowser Jr., they also nerfed the trick shots. This is a good first step into fixing Mario Tennis Aces.
Well, they're hearing complaints. Here's some other ones, and fix those too, please.
Here's the thing, like, this is a much easier update, I imagine, than those other things, and I'm glad that they're addressing this first, because this is something that's, like, actively hurting the online community. So, good first step. Now, moving forward, let's take care of some of those other things.
I firmly believe that, like, they just need to acknowledge for everyone, hey, we kind of messed up. We will make this right. We will add modes. We will fix the game around the gameplay. Just give us time. If they just said that they were going to fix it, then I wouldn't hesitate to buy it. But that was the thing that kind of just stopped me in my tracks with that game.
It's so sad when, like, that's your main problem. It's not that the game is bad, it's just that it wasn't filled out correctly. Yeah, it kind of hurts. Moose Man also says, not kidding, there's an eShop game called Moose Man on Switch now. How dare they? They didn't have my permission. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to call Reggie and tell Reggie that, you know, you're being infringed upon, your copyright, your IP.
So I wanna check with you. How upset are you going to be if we buy said game and review it?
And then give it an awful review. No, give it a good review.
We'll give it a fair review, but we'll do it
depending on which gets the best reaction.
I like Paul's approach. A fair review.
But we'll do it in your honor. Is that okay, or is it still a no-go?
Jokes.
Let's move on to some third-party information coming from this week.
You might want to hit that one last one.
Oh yeah, I skipped over that. So this is another case where this might be like the biggest news of the week. Mario Kart 8 just received an update yesterday, adding Champion Link from Breath of the Wild along with the Master Cycle Zero from the Champion's Ballad DLC, and this is awesome.
So is it just is it a costume swap within game, or is it a whole?
It's like when you hit A on Yoshi and the colors all pop up. Pretty sure that's what it is. But the Master Cycle Zero, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
So like this is like the closest you have to Link in a vehicle in a main series Zelda game. So to have that ported over to Mario Kart 8 is a good choice. I wouldn't be surprised if Aonuma went over to the Mario Kart 8 team, you know, and he was like, hey, I really like this motorcycle, and I think you guys would like this motorcycle. That's all I'm going to say. I like this motorcycle.
They made you a motorcycle.
so now the question is this it for Mario Kart 8? Are there more updates coming, or is there something more substantial, more characters?
I don't think this is the end of it.
I was gonna say, if it depends on when Mario Kart 9 is planned for. If it's still a few years out, I kind of wouldn't mind if they add, you know, some characters.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a while before Mario Kart 9.
The thing is, with this is, I don't think that they would have announced that there were updates coming if this was the only update they had to tell us about.
Right.
That's poor expectation management, because like yesterday, they just dropped this without any warning. They could have done that without ever saying that there were going to be updates again. But they chose explicitly to say there were updates on the way, so I don't think this is the end of it.
Like, I personally, I recognize that there are plenty of people, and like this is their first experience with Mario Kart 8 on the Switch. But for me, it's not. And so I'm hoping that, like, if it's going to be a while before I see any Mario Kart game, that I get a little something new to tide me over.
And I agree. I like Mario Kart 8 so much that I would be okay with DLC for a couple years before we get the next iteration of Mario Kart on a home console. Dreamdrop says there was a leak about Kirby, Funky Kong, and either Toadette or Birdo. Don't know how valid it is. So there you go. There's the possibility of more DLC right there. I am super into the idea of adding Kirby to the game, especially if he gets to ride his Warp Star as his vehicle. Logan, you look like you have an opinion. Better not be.
Kirby's dumb.
Better not be about
you
Funky Kong.
Hate yourself.
Actually, it totally was about Funky Kong.
What is it?
But now you're never gonna hear it.
Is it that Mario Kart 8's gonna get a new Funky mode?
No.
I hope it does.
They should just re-release it and add that to the box.
You guys just get to sit here and the rest of the night and wonder what I was gonna say.
Well, Funky Kong was a member of the Mario Kart Wii character roster, so this would not be his first entrance in the series.
Yeah, I could see any of these characters being in there. I think Kirby's a good choice for a character that's not Mario, that we could throw in there, and we put Link already in Mario Kart. So
and Kirby has his own racing series.
I was just about to say.
I would love to see more non-Mario characters get thrown in the mix.
Still pulling for Captain Falcon and Fox McCloud. Those are my number 2 next ones.
Yeah.
Samus probably after that.
All of them.
Now moving on into some third-party announcements. Comic-Con 2018 Sonic panel will have some surprise announcements. I wouldn't be surprised if this is only about Sonic Team Racing. and not much beyond that. Maybe we'll get a glimpse of the next Sonic title.
No, they're gonna announce more DLC for Sonic Mania.
Shadow and Smash Bros.
No, stop. It's gonna be Sonic Mania Plus and Knuckles.
I'm okay with that.
Logan in with the mic drop. Yeah. I like Sonic. I like Sonic. Yeah, I like Sonic. I wouldn't say I love Sonic, but that's because there's such a level of inconsistency in his games. Sonic Mania, I absolutely adored Sonic Mania, so I would be down with a sequel to that. Give me just another game that's on the same level as Generations, and I'll be fine, because I love Sonic Generations. That's all I'm asking for. It doesn't have to be much. Dream Drop says Sonic Mania Plus Ultimate.
It doesn't have to be a good one. It doesn't have to be a long one.
Unreleased NES Super Effects racing game Power Slide could see a release soon. How is this being released exactly?
I think they actually wanted to put it on SNES cartridges.
Oh, okay.
But they realized that they couldn't get the Super Effects chip.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So they got some workarounds to figure out, but I believe, I like they want to still release this game.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I mean,
it says in so it wasn't just planned for the SNES. Used the Super FX chip on the SNES, but it also was planned for PC and the 3DO.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
It looks like it says in the article. It says the 3DO version was uncovered and footage was released on YouTube back in late 2016. So this is kind of, I feel like it's kind of misleading because it's not exclusively a Super FX racing game.
It was originally going to be a Super FX racing game.
Right, but it wasn't going to be only a Super FX game. That's what I'm saying. So on the SNES, it had to use the Super FX chip to achieve the same parity between the PC and the 3DO versions.
For those of you who aren't aware, there also is an actual Super FX racing game on Super Nintendo with that exact name, I think. Andre from Game Explain talks about that game a lot, and he wants the car from Super FX Racing to be a character in Smash Bros. So there you have it. Moving on, this is an interesting one. Vague release dates for pre-orders have been banned in Germany.
You can't say your game's coming in 2019 or 2020. It's not specific enough.
Kind of into this idea.
Yeah. I'm into this. It took me a minute to like digest what was being
said. If you can't
said.
give like a semi definitive launch window, then they don't want you to be able to pre-order things.
Yeah.
That
so I mean,
what stops you from pre-ordering things that just will never come?
So I mean, for
like
you guys,
Kickstarters.
what would be a reasonable like time window?
A month. Just give me the month.
So say like, okay, it's anything over a month is like, okay, you're not even allowed to.
I don't want a Q1 through Q4 because
you're not allowed to pre-order it.
Yeah.
You just no
Q1s through Q4s, no year. If we can get down to the month, I think that's fair. Because saying Q1 or Q2, that leaves room for delay. Not saying that saying the month doesn't leave room for delay, but it's more concrete.
Right. Yeah, and the only difference here is like saying it can release in these quarters. That's one thing, but also making it available for pre-order. Well, that's the kind of deal.
And that's what I mean.
Right. It's
I mean, if you have to push it back, if you say like August 2020, and then you have to push it back come, maybe July 2020, you realize you're not going to make that window. Like, I'm cool with that. But just putting like coming soon or available soon, and then just leaving it at that, no.
Nah.
I think this is a good thing. I don't see how anything bad could come out of this. I mean, all you're doing is like saying like, hey guys. consumers don't spend your money unless you know almost precisely like when it's coming, because maybe there's a chance that like you spend the money here and then you don't have it down the line, even though they keep pushing it back and you're not even getting your money's worth.
Paul's laughing at Dream Drop's comment. Says no pre-orders in Germany, more like coming 2019. That was so lame. Ew.
Good work.
You made a
Good work.
German pun.
I appreciate that.
Moving on, Square Enix on Dragon Quest XI. The very first game announced for Switch is still in development and is quite a ways off.
It was funny because I think like just last weekend, me and you were talking about this game and how you mentioned like, did it die? Is it just not coming now? Like, what's up with that?
This is
There's
just
your answer.
It's Square Enix. We're used to this kind of thing from
Coming
them.
eventually. This is related to the last story about not putting just like coming soon.
It's gonna arrive on Switch like 2 console generations from now. So yeah, that's that. Another interesting story: the Game Accessibility Conference arrives in Paris this October. So no player is unnecessarily excluded from everything that games have to offer. This is something we brought up on the show more than once, more so on the Breakdown podcast, but still, this is something I am a personal advocate for. I want as many people to be able to play games as possible, but for the most part, they're kind of an afterthought. Not a lot of developers are that forward thinking to think about their players who might have some kind of disability that prevents them from playing games. We saw Microsoft bring their accessibility controller to E3 2018. I think that's a great step in the right direction. We recently had Reggie say that the whole industry has to come together in order to solve this problem as a team. And I'm all for that. So seeing that there's going to be a conference dedicated to this entire concept is great to me.
Yeah,
It sounds like this wasn't a new conference either, which I'm glad to hear.
Yeah, I didn't think it was either, but
it's finally getting attention.
It's
right?
noticed,
so,
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
there have been several, more significant figures within the gaming industry who have been trying to bring this to light. Working very hard to try to bring this kind of issue to light, and then with Microsoft bringing their accessibility controller, that was a huge deal because everybody was talking about that, and it was this huge company taking a huge step towards allowing anybody to be able to play these games. So I'm glad this is happening. I'm glad this conversation is being had, and I'm glad there's action being taken. I mean, this is just going to be better for everybody in the future. Just, we got a problem, well, we got solutions for that already.
Definitely. I can't wait to see what the future holds for gaming accessibility going forward. Where are we going to be at in like the next 5 or 10 years? What's going to be possible for this kind of thing? So I'm glad that this is happening. Moving on, Switch game sales make up 5% of Ubisoft's total earnings in record first quarter. So obviously Nintendo's partnership with Ubisoft has been in the news quite a bit recently, thanks to, their Mario and Rabbids deal, and now we got Star Fox coming to Starlink. The thing is, like, when you look at this, it still
seem as impressive.
Well, the thing is, it's like it's drowned out by the other consoles.
Yeah.
Right.
They do say, though,
Substantially.
that it is a 4% increase over the previous first quarter. So, I mean,
Yeah.
And that's a
and
good
it is
thing.
a record-breaking first quarter. So, I mean,
Yeah, and
5% of a lot is still
A lot.
5% of a lot.
and there's still potential, and Ubisoft knows the potential that, okay, so the Nintendo consoles are different. If we can take advantage of that, we could make a lot of money. Hashtag Just Dance, right? In the Wii era, wow, they didn't have PlayStation Move and Kinect, and when that game launched, it was just on the Wii, and they made tons of money. So I mean, Mario and Rabbids did well. Just Dance continues to do however Just Dance does, and it'll probably sell pretty well on the Switch as they do it. I don't know how.
I think that's important to note too, is that a lot of Ubisoft's tentpole games are not available on Nintendo Switch, but this is how Switch is doing without those games as it is. We don't have Assassin's Creed. We don't have was it Far Cry or a couple of those other series. But Switch is still doing pretty well despite that.
Well, I mean, the other cool thing about this too is like Switch is only 5% of their total, but they're still like on that 5%. They're still pursuing partnerships with Nintendo directly.
Yeah.
Well, now because those even though they're a smaller portion overall, they're probably still really profitable, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously, okay, let's team up with Nintendo and do Mario plus
Good
Rabbids.
PR
I mean, the
too.
fact that Mario is in that game, it's going to sell that much better, and so they know they're going to have a successful product with a crossover like that. They know if they put Fox McCloud in Starlink, that all of the Nintendo nerds are going to be like, I didn't think I was going to buy Starlink, but now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, you
know?
can watch our reaction video, and that's pretty much exactly what happens.
So, I mean, Ubisoft isn't, they're not concerned with making the Nintendo Switch the largest portion of their revenue. What they are looking to do is leverage the advantages that it does give them and make smart investments based on that. In the future, I hope that means we can get some of these more hardcore franchises, maybe even with a Switch revision that has a little bit more juice in it.
At the very least,
that
if we could
remains
get
to be
more
seen.
Star Fox games developed by Ubisoft, I'm cool with that.
But the thing is, we're gonna get more Ubisoft content that is exclusive to the Switch, right? Just another reason to own the Switch. You can't play Mario plus Rabbids anywhere else, And I don't think, obviously, it's not the last
Challenge
thing.
accepted.
So,
moving on, Sega Ages, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Thunder Force 4 are launching on August 1st. So those will be the first Sega Ages games available on the eShop. And I want to say I read this somewhere. I think Sonic 1 is getting the drop dash from Sonic Mania in this port. Or maybe that was a port on another system. Sonic the Hedgehog will feature elements from the 3DS version, such as the added spin dash. But I heard the drop dash too. Maybe I misremembered that. That's cool. We knew this was going to happen, so they're finally going to start rolling out. I think once we get to those Dreamcast games, I'm interested in seeing how those perform. Sonic Adventure 2. If they do Sonic Adventure 2, I would hope that they would release the GameCube version and not the Dreamcast version, because the GameCube version had the battle mode. So hopefully they do that.
Let's get Phantasy Star Online. What? Who brought up Phantasy Star? That's not my trigger word.
It's been a while since somebody brought up Phantasy Star Online, which is actually kind of surprising in retrospect.
I felt like a chill up my spine. Like, where did that come from? Weird. Anyway,
from nowhere.
In an interesting piece of news, the Unreal Engine 4 20 release includes significant improvements for Nintendo Switch development. Great. This will make it easier on developers. Unreal Engine has already been used on Switch. Unreal Engine is, of course, the engine behind Rocket League and Octopath. So it's nice that this will be easier for developers to work with.
It's also being used for the new Yoshi title?
Also Fortnite?
No, that's excuse me, that's the Fortnite engine, according to Digital Foundry.
I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Fortnite.
It's Epic's own game.
I know. The thing is, like, on a recent Digital Foundry video, they called it the Fortnite engine, assumedly to get more clicks on the video.
Oh, I would imagine that's the case.
Dream Drop says, please give me the Dreamcast version of Sonic Adventure. DX is filthy. Yeah. Agreed. Okay. So yeah, this is a great piece of news. Hopefully this leads to more Unreal games coming to Nintendo Switch in the future. Yeah. Speaking of Fortnite, Funko secures a Fortnite deal, joining Pokemon for even more Pop figures. Funko Pop.
Sorry.
Funko.
Oh.
It sounds like they are being selective with which Pokemon they're doing too, which is good news for retailers who have limited store shelves.
My favorite Pokemon is Fortnite.
Yes, agreed.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
like
I mean-
when I read Funko, I did it again. I think of it as a Japanese word, which would be Funko.
Oh. Well, in that case, you'd be pronouncing it correctly, but
But they are an American
welcome
company.
to America.
Funko Pop.
Now, I don't know. I mean, how long can they do this?
I'm
How long
surprised
can
this bubble
Funko
hasn't popped
survive?
yet.
Yeah,
Like there's so many characters.
it's like Skyrim. You keep buying it, we'll keep making.
They had exclusive
And that's
Funko
true.
Pops at Funimation's booth at San Diego Comic-Con, and they had to shut it down because the line was getting crazy, and people were getting violent over
I've
Funko
thought
Pops.
about collecting them, but also like if I was to start collecting figures, I
You'll
don't
become
know.
like Brand with Amiibo. It's all downhill
Right.
from there.
I haven't bought an amiibo in a long time.
They haven't
And
had
that's
a
going to
reason
change
to
when they
buy
start
an
re-releasing
Amiibo.
them for Smash
They haven't
Ultimate.
released any in a long
I see
time.
through you.
I was at GameStop a couple months ago, and I was looking at some of the Monster Hunter Funko Pops, and I picked them up. I looked at them, and I'm like, "Oh, this is cool. I don't have any real like Monster Hunter merchandise." And then I put them down and said, "Nope,
I can't scan them into my game. They don't get me anything.
not opening that can of worms." If I get any Monster Hunter figures, I'm gonna get the actual figures that they release in Japan, because those are cool.
Yeah, I
So-
can get the Amiibos.
Cool.
This is obviously a good pull for Funko. If Pokemon, like, this is the only thing I could honestly say is going to be bigger than Pokemon, specifically in America, is Fortnite, because that has unfortunately a wider appeal right now. I wouldn't say unfortunately. Fortnite's a good game, but there is some, I don't know, there are aspects of Fortnite that I see in the kids that I don't particularly like.
Yeah, I mean it's more basic in terms of
Basic.
its accessibility. You know, it's easier to sit down and play a few matches of Fortnite than like.
The way I'm talking about Fortnite is the way our parents were talking about Pokemon when we were children, so I'm becoming an old man.
Oh, you think it's the devil?
I honestly, okay, I mean,
No,
I'll
I
talk
don't.
about that in a second, but I've been playing.
Satan's gonna get you through the Fortnite.
I like Fortnite. I think it's a great game. Moving on, rumors, Spyro Reignited Trilogy website lists Nintendo Switch in pre-order section. Not only did it list it once, it listed it twice. John
Yeah.
Cartwright over at Game Explain posted this on Twitter, that he's like, do I get the Nintendo Switch version or the Nintendo Switch version? And I replied that he should actually just wait and get the NX version.
Clever boy, clever boy.
Yeah, he seemed to agree with me about that. I think it's a no-brainer that this is coming to Switch. If you were with us when we had Roger on a long time ago, he had a conspiracy saying that they release these games on other systems first to release them on Switch later because they know those people are going to buy it again.
He might be onto something.
I think he
honestly.
is.
But with this, like, I'm genuinely
I have
surprised we still haven't
self-control.
just gotten a formal announcement about it. Like, I'm surprised we didn't see this at E3, just in that list of like games that got leaked beforehand. Surprised Spyro just wasn't there.
I guess it just depends on the timeline in which this game is coming. Is it going to be as delayed as Crash Bandicoot was? I mean, the weird thing about it is that Crash was a Sony timed exclusive. Spyro is releasing on other platforms alongside PlayStation, except Nintendo Switch. So
I have no doubt it's coming.
going on?
It's just
I
a
don't
matter
either.
of when.
I feel like at a certain point, people are gonna catch on to like their shenanigans, and so like maybe the first few times, like they're like, okay, let's not release it on the Switch yet, and they get away with it, and people buy it a second time. But I think they're gonna have diminishing returns with that, you know, because ultimately it's like this looks like a game that could come.
Well, when
to the
there's more
Switch.
games coming
They're
to the
gonna put it
Switch,
on the Switch.
when there's more games coming to the Switch too, they're gonna have more competition. It's gonna, you have to be more selective with your games when there's more of them coming at you at once.
Right.
But also, I mean, I feel like you can just make the excuse. Well, we gotta figure out how to adapt it to the Switch because it's a little bit less powerful than the other two consoles. So it takes time. We gotta focus on initial launch on the other two consoles, and then we'll come back and we'll adapt it, and then it'll be Switch.
Personally,
2 years later.
I prefer the air.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the Spyro remake. I played Spyro as a kid, but I don't have much of a recollection of it compared to like me playing like Super Mario or Legend of Zelda or something.
I'm kind of
like
the
that.
same way, except I have actually no history with this franchise at all.
Same.
I had very little, but see, I've been going back to talking about Norman, right? Norm's been streaming the second Spyro game in anticipation for a video that he's making, and I've been sitting down and watching it, and I'm like, I want to play this, except even prettier, So
yeah.
I think I might end up buying the Spyro trilogy on Switch before I end up getting Crash Bandicoot.
Michaela, my wife, has history with the Spyro series, and she actually loves the original trilogy. So she's been begging me to get this game, and she specifically wants to get it on PS4 because she first played it on a Sony console. And I thought that was an interesting perspective. It's a perspective I've shared, like with the Ukulele. That was a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, and I played those games on N64, so naturally I wanted to play it on Switch. I did end up getting it on PC because the disparity in time was so large.
I honestly thought what you were going to say is I needed to get an N64 controller with a USB port, like plug in my computer. That's the way I wanted to play it, with an N64 controller.
So I will probably end up getting this game in October because I probably will never hear the end of it otherwise. Though if it were up to me only, I would probably get this on Nintendo Switch. And I'm kind of with you there, Logan. I want this a lot more than I want Crash Bandicoot. Because Crash Bandicoot preserves like the gameplay from those games, while Spyro, from what I understand, improves the gameplay from the games.
It reignites them.
Yeah,
it's like a phoenix. From the ashes, it rises again.
Spyro stands out in terms of like the 3D platformers, right? It has its own identity, as does Crash, but Crash also relies pretty heavily on stationary like camera that either follows you as you're like running down, or they got some side scrolling sections. So Crash is just a solid game for that time, but it wasn't quite like
Spyro feels like it could have been made today and follow the conventions of today's design decisions.
Right.
I've heard from like NVC that maybe Crash's like first game in the trilogy wasn't good.
I agree with that because I've played the demo for Crash, and I only played the first one, and to be entirely honest, like I was not having a good time. It just doesn't feel good.
If it's anything like the little trial level you get in Uncharted 4, like that wasn't very fun to me. So I don't imagine the rest of the game around it would be very fun.
When you're jumping towards the screen and you don't necessarily know if you're gonna land where you need to land,
it's a game that starts there that seems counterintuitive and then actually is.
Yeah, that they did have a lot more praise for Crash 2 and Crash 3, so maybe they figured it out in between.
I'd be willing to try those two at least, but...
So that's all the Nintendo Switch news, or Nintendo news, for this week. So that leads us into the games we've been playing. This is a game that I've been waiting for anxiously for a while now, and finally got it yesterday, I think? Or no, 2 days ago. It was this week. Taiko no Tatsujin Nintendo Switch version. For those in America, that's Taiko Drum Master.
Taiko Drum Master!
Are you a Drum Master yet?
I'm
no.
drumming on my head in anticipation!
So, Taiko no Tatsujin is a very popular arcade game series in Japan. That series was adapted to console back in the PS2 era. And as far as the Taiko games are concerned, the PS2 game is the only one that has ever been released in North America. Every single game after that has been Japan exclusive. So naturally, me and our friend Josiah were like, well, we finally have an opportunity to play Taiko, so let's buy Taiko. So we both bought Taiko. We both imported drums from Japan because it has a drum accessory that you can get to play the games with. And during this process, the game got rated for Australia. And then it got rated for Spain. And recently, it got rated for North America.
Dun, dun, dun.
Good times, right?
So Taiko no Tatsujin may be coming to North America as Taiko no Tatsujin Drum and Fun. So there's an
Drum and Fun?
That's the name they're going with, yeah. So there's
Weird, but okay.
There's the chance for everyone else who wants to play the game to play it in America. The nice thing is that the game, the Japanese version, is getting an English language patch in 3 weeks. So whether or not this comes out in America, Josiah and I will still have the game in English.
Well, I mean, one thing that you told me so far is, like, it has, like, songs from anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there's potential for the song list to be different between that version and the North American version.
Yeah,
I'd
very much
imagine
so.
that would be probably one of the things that changes, you know, licensing issues and whatnot.
This could be a game I buy twice because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
it sounds like you initially, like, the version you got is probably the better of the two versions to go with, especially since it's getting the English patch.
Yeah, and Taiko no Tatsujin, the original one, the American version, Taiko Drum Master, that song list is very different for that very reason that you brought up with licensing. So I anticipate this will happen again.
Yeah, I mean, but even on the other side, like, you know, we're in this digital age where they could, okay, here's the set of songs for the Western audience, here's the set of songs for the more Eastern Asian audiences, and then obviously they could just, like, sell more, right?
And they plan to, because there's already DLC available. In fact, for buying the game at launch, I got a free DLC song, which was some anime mech opening theme. It actually came with a character, too. So I thought that was pretty neat. So the main gameplay of Taiko no Tatsujin, there's two types of notes. There's a don, which is hitting the center of the drum, and then there's a kot, which kot is hitting the side of the drum, like like taiko drummers will do. And those are the only two note types you deal with in the game. So the gameplay is very straightforward. However, the difficulty ceiling is incredibly high.
You gotta become a drum master.
You do. This game has a great track list. I sent you guys a video of some of the anime songs. They have the theme from Evangelion in there.
I'm kind of jealous, honestly.
I've seen this before. Like, I mean, you've been talking. You and Joe have been talking about this for months now.
We've been very excited. This is like, we're planning a trip to Japan in a couple of years together, and when we go to a Japanese arcade, this is absolutely one of the things that, you know, I have to do, is play a real taiko drum machine. They have the big old drums with, like, the real maibachi sticks, so just that whole concept is really exciting to me. Chala, Head Chala is in there. Dragon Ball Z original theme. It's so good. A lot of Ghibli songs. A song from Spirited Away. The My Neighbor Totoro theme is in there. Great track list. I've heard that for people who have played previous Taiko games, that this maybe not be the best entry for the track list because it reuses a lot of songs. But for someone like me who's never played the game before, like, I'm swimming in music.
See, those are the people that are missing the point. It's the first time it's on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Okay, we need everything. This is the Nintendo Switch.
On the iOS version of the game, there's actually a subscription service that gives you unlimited access to, like, a pool of over 400 songs for Taiko Drum Master. So I think something like that might happen. Regardless, new to this game, there's a party mode, which up to 4 players can play, where you play party games or mini games that are actually much like the games you'll find in Rhythm Heaven, which neither of you have played. So there's no Rhythm Heaven game on Switch right now, but I would argue that there is right now.
I'm just waiting for Rhythm Hell.
Wow, that is a bad word. So, like I said, we imported drums. Josiah got his drum in 2 days. I was not as lucky.
Yeah, didn't sound like it.
My drum is not even actually left Japan yet. It's still there.
They were like, look at that name. Brandon Miracle.
He's up to something.
He's probably a diabetic. We don't want to get him his drum on time.
So, I played this with Michaela. We had to use motion controls. We found out her left Joy-Con doesn't work anymore, so she had to use button controls. And playing it with the Joy-Cons is fine, but you can't really play on hard or higher because it doesn't register as accurately as it needs to. So I'm just kind of stuck playing on normal and below for the time being. But the thing about that is that she told me she wanted her own drum.
Uh-oh.
So I just bought a second
Did you tell
one.
her too bad?
Oh no. And he did it.
I bought this one on Amazon Japan, and it's going to arrive next week. Before
So
the
when
first
you
one.
order
saying
later-
yours is tied up in customs and yours is arriving next week.
Yeah, that's what's happening. The worst part of all of this, though, is the drum was over $70 on PlayAsia, plus $20 for customs and courier fees, so almost like $100. I got it on Amazon Japan for $60. Josiah did not want me to tell him the price that I got the drum on Amazon. He doesn't want to know because he got his on PlayAsia too. So that's my Taiko no Drum story. Can't wait to get my drum. Loving the game so far. If you like rhythm games, definitely try this game out. You can buy the digital code on Amazon Japan. I actually pre-ordered mine and I got mine immediately at launch. So
Isn't there a demo?
there is a demo on the Japanese eShop, so if you've never played Taiko before, yeah, there's your opportunity. I don't know how many songs are on it, but it'll get you the idea. Like, there's one type of gameplay for Taiko outside of the party mode. If that doesn't tell you what it's like, then whatever. So that's what
This
I've
is
done.
actually a perfect transition into what I've played because it's a Japanese rhythm game.
Woo!
Except mine, I don't think was necessarily like Japanese. I've been playing Hiragana Pixel Party on the Nintendo Switch because I'm trying to learn Hiragana so that I'm ready for.
How many hiragana do you comfortably know at this point?
Comfortably?
Key.
Probably like I definitely know the 10 we were supposed to know.
Yeah, I learned those.
I think I'm up to 20
Okay.
around that.
I started working
like,
on the S and then
Yeah.
like the C. I think it is. Those are
Ta?
the lines.
Sa and Ta?
Ta? Is it Ta?
Yeah.
The Ta and Sa. Yeah, it's Sa and Ta. Okay. Yeah, it is. And I was just like making notes of like, okay, this one's similar to this one, and then trying to kind of like differentiate all of them.
Yeah.
It's
I
been
need
a
to
lot of
do
fun.
more like writing practice, but I will say
Right.
like you might want to give this game a try, Logan, because it
I was about to
does
say, yeah.
it does force you to actually like memorize them. Like there will be times when they will like just say the ah, e, oo, and they'll like say the pattern of them. You won't actually see the blocks you're supposed to jump over that correlate to it, so you don't know like is it supposed to be ah?
Uh-huh.
So like you just have to like memorize them real fast, like all 3 or 4 that they'll throw at you.
Right.
'Cause, I mean, the whole game is they'll tell you what letter, and that corresponds to a block in your way. You just keep running. You press the right button when you're coming close to it, and you'll jump over it.
Right.
That's the whole game.
And it's got katakana too, right?
Yeah. So it's hiragana and katakana.
Any kanji?
I think that's where it draws the line.
Which is fair.
Kanji's
but I
a whole
mean,
different ballpark.
If
Yeah.
you're trying to learn hiragana and katakana, I do think that this is a good tool.
How much does it cost, and where can we find it?
Those are good questions.
It was like
I bought
pretty
it-
cheap.
I bought
What are
it
you
long time
playing
ago.
it on? What are you
I'm
playing?
playing.
it on?
I'm pretty sure I said
Playing
it
on the
was
Switch.
playing on the Switch,
Okay.
but I don't know if it's on other platforms.
I want to say it was pretty cheap. Like, it's not expensive at all.
It was
I feel like a
maybe
a
12
Japanese learning game.
Okay, it's
couldn't
also
be
on
very
Steam.
expensive.
$7.99.
Okay, that's reasonable.
I paid
Might-
$30 for this.
So
I might have to dip.
$8.99 on the eShop, $7.99 on Steam.
fair enough.
There's
So
a deluxe edition that comes with the soundtrack.
for our listeners, we are currently in the process of learning Japanese. I've had some prior experience in high school. It'll be the first take for these guys, but I think they're catching on pretty quickly.
We're weeb evolving.
We are.
I already know how to pronounce some words.
GG,
Not
weeb
know what they
evolution.
mean.
So like I said, we're taking a trip to Japan. We're planning on 2020, but also in December we'll be going to Chicago to take the Japanese N5 proficiency exam, which is the lowest level proficiency exam for very basic elementary Japanese. So we're
So you can follow the journey to me failing and these guys passing.
Yoi desu.
You're learning Japanese? Psst, weebs.
We're weeb evolving.
I thought I was kind of a weeb.
Evolving as weebs.
Yeah, we're pretty excited.
You're the lowest level. I'm medium weeb. I'm going for medium well.
I just want to go to Japan and try to speak Japanese and have all the Japanese people laugh at me. And then try to help me speak it better.
That's the thing, is they might laugh at you, but then they will help you afterwards.
Because who wouldn't? Like, I mean, even, okay, vice versa, right? So if somebody comes here, and I have experience with this, right? We went to Greenville, there was lots of foreign students trying to speak English, and sometimes it wouldn't come out right, and it was funny. But you always knew they were well-meaning, and you wanted to help if they can, you know? There was so many times where... one of these Chinese students would say something, and then you'd learn them something, right? So it's like the kanji in Japan, right? It's like you don't really know how to go about these necessarily until all of a sudden you have to use it in everyday life, and somebody who is a native speaker explains it to you. And all of a sudden you've had that experience and you know a new word and you can use that, you know, in conversation. And so, yeah. So the same thing will happen with us. I'm just anxious to get to that point where I can actually speak conversationally and have people to have conversations with that aren't just people I'm learning with. You know.
I think I said it last night, but I look forward to being able to read Kojima's tweets and know what he's saying.
Or just any, like, Japanese, like, figurehead, you know?
I should have mentioned this then, like, Taiko, the menus are in hiragana and katakana with some kanji, but specifically the song categories are all in katakana, and I was able to read what each category was just based on the knowledge I have, because they were all English words. So like Namco Bandai.
So you literally just had to sound them out.
Yeah, that's all it took. The Namco Bandai originals was like Namco Bandai Originaru. And I sat there and I like read each character until I figured it out. So yeah.
Princess said, teach us!
I mentioned this in our Japanese learning chat, but I'm very, very happy that you guys are taking this journey with me, because this is one of the biggest regrets of my life, was giving up on my studies.
Well, you haven't given up, obviously.
I didn't give up, because here I am.
No, I'm excited, and I'll say this. I mean, welcome to the Nintendo Stuff podcast, where we talk about learning Japanese.
Nintendo.
And
wait, that's the breakdown.
Like, I'll tell you what, like yesterday at work, I was having a really tough day. I was just kind of like feeling very defeated and very overwhelmed by things. And at a certain point, I just put everything down, and I took out a small like legal pad, and I grabbed a pencil, and I just started, you know, writing out my my hiragana, right? And after maybe like, you know, 10-15 minutes of just continually writing them out and then writing the sounds out next to them, you know, I had those 10 down, you know. And now if you give them to me, I might struggle a little bit, but I'll eventually get them, you know.
Yeah.
For quickly, for anyone who's like interested in learning Japanese, we're actually following the resource guide on r/learn Japanese. They have a very comprehensive list of the best available resources to learn Japanese. We're actually learning using the Genki series of introductory books.
If you want a link, join our Discord, and you know, just in any chat, just ask us. You know,
we'll link you guys to it.
Link.
So you can learn Japanese kind of alongside us, and we'll have this journey together.
Come play games and learn Japanese at the same time.
once we're through the end of the second volume of Genki, we should be able to pass at least N4, and with enough tertiary studies, we could also pass N3. So this will take us a huge step of the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our little tangent about our Japanese learning. Logan, what have you been playing?
So I played a little bit more of the Octo expansion. It ended just about the same as every other time I played the Octo expansion.
Is it just like, is it frustrating for you, or?
It's really frustrating for me. It's really frustrating.
That's kind of where I'm at too.
So this weekend I'm planning on doing just that, right?
Get your things.
Yeah. And I just want to get through it. I did unlock another like line, like a sub railing. So I did feel a little bit of progression, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Now if I could just not give up, right? And I mean, other than that, I've been playing a lot of Fortnite, specifically on my Switch. It's really easy to go back to. And then today was all Rocket League again on my Switch. It's easy to take my Switch wherever, even if it's work, you know. Downtime.
I just want to have a conversation with you guys about the story, because it's really good.
Right. Yeah.
I want to not be bad at.
It's not easy. Like, this is meant for very accomplished players and players with a lot of patience.
I'm neither of them.
There are some like lines that I think are just easier than others to get through. I think more often than not, the lines that intersect, so like a level that will unlock another line, are going to be more difficult than the levels by themselves. That seems to be the trend in my playthrough. So just kind of keep that in mind. The nice thing is when you finally get to a thing, you click the level and you don't have to do anything. You just get the thing.
Yeah. This is probably a good transition, though, into mentioning the fact that we will be playing Splatoon 2 later tonight.
Yes.
So come back or stay tuned or whatever.
The big global Splatfest, Inklings versus Octolings. We actually need a fourth player, Dream Drop, on that stream. So if you're interested, you should play with us. Like how I just extended that invitation right on the show.
That's how we do it. We definitely plan this stuff out.
Yeah. One of those early patron perks, man. Dream Drop's been here for a long time, like since we did the show with Roger, and he's been a very dedicated fan, so thank you. Wrong language. Hey, he's in, so I guess he'll be joining us. I can add you through Switch because we follow each other on Twitter, so I will do that. Okay, cool. So we'll hit you up on Discord as well. So that's the Nintendo Stuff podcast for this week, episode 3. Sorry about the last time. It's just we had a plan in place, but we were met with some unfortunate technical difficulties that ultimately kind of were out of our hand. But we've taken quite a few steps to alleviate those things. Like, I've done a lot of work with my computer, which seemed to have made a massive difference so far. And Paul has made some upgrades himself. You'll also notice he's using an arm for his microphone now.
Or you wouldn't notice because it's hidden, because it's just a good setup.
There you go.
I also, part of the problem was that I have a very janky old laptop that I bought super cheap for college. I've replaced that. So now I have a portable podcasting station.
Yeah, that should go a long way. So if you like what you're seeing here, please leave us a like on the video. If you follow us to our podcast sources on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher, if you could leave us a rating, that would be very, very helpful to us. We're trying to grow on those platforms.
So if you don't mind, if you're on those other platforms, but going to Apple Podcasts or iTunes, apparently helps the most. I don't know why.
So if you could do that, that would be much appreciated. If you're new here, if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe. We do 2 podcasts a week, Mondays and Friday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. I've been teasing this for a while now. I'll go ahead and mention it again. We will be having Roger on to talk, or Roger's Base, excuse me, to talk about Shokugeki no Soma. We're trying to work with him on a schedule right now. Things are a little busy for him, but that will be happening. And I'm not going to say who, but we're going to have a very special guest coming very soon. A couple weeks, so look forward to that. Logan, do you know who it is?
You said Shokugeki no Soma, right?
For the Rogers Base.
Still on that?
Yeah.
That was his trigger word.
Wait, we're gonna have a discussion about Shokugeki no Soma? Is that what
Logan,
you
Logan, he's not a big fan of Shokugeki no Soma.
Wait,
he's not a big fan of
Shokugeki no Soma.
cooking.
Like,
You hate animes about cooking, right?
with Yu-Gi-Oh! Soma, Shokugeki no Soma, that one.
Takumi
about
Outerdini.
that?
Scores.
We need to end this show before we never end. So, like I said, follow us in all those places. If you haven't, follow us, join our Discord, excuse me. There's a link to that in the description. You can follow us at our Twitter handles, at PeppaBabs, at LoggyDubs, at Gunnysaurus, or if you want to follow us as Collective, you can follow us at Breakroom Arcade. Breakroom Arcade on all social media. So follow us everywhere. Excuse me. We'll be back on Monday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time with the Breakdown Podcast. So make sure to check that out, and we'll talk to you guys later. So don't break your backs, breaking the games, but for now... Break time's over.